Hey guys, just a little disclaimer before we get into the video here. All of the content in this video was prepared before the Age of Aurelus card reveals, so all of the content will be just for cards from Battle Brawlers and Resurgence. Thanks, and enjoy the episode. Hey there Bakugan fans, welcome back to Bakumentary, your go-to show for competitive Bakugan Battle Planet news, gameplay, meta reports, and more. I'm your host, RoboSensei, and on today's episode we'll be continuing our discussion on the new ruling of FrostStrike in Bakugan Battle Planet. In the last episode, we reviewed the character cards and evos that have FrostStrike. If you haven't watched the video yet, there's the link in the description, and I would recommend that you check it out to understand the confirmed ruling for FrostStrike and its new impact on the game, which will lead into today's episode where we will discuss all of the action cards, hero cards, and BakuCores that can give your Bakugan FrostStrike. First up is an action card from Battle Brawlers, Hydroblast. This is an Aquos action that costs 6 energy and says plus 4 damage rating and plus 4 FrostStrike. While that effect is pretty powerful, boosting your damage and making sure that it can't be stopped, the card costing 6 energy moves it straight into the realm of unplayability. Next up is another Aquos action, Liquid Strike. The card costs 2 energy and grants 3 points of FrostStrike to a Bakugan. Now I think that 2 or 3 points of FrostStrike is all you'll ever need to apply without going overkill. So this effect for only 2 energy seems inherently powerful for its cost, but I don't think it really gives you much in the early game, where you'll need to be spending the few energized cards you have on B-boosting powers to help you win your battles. This is unless, of course, you can always overpower your opponent's Bakugan with just the stats of your character card. That isn't a very common situation. Later in the video, we'll go over a card I think would be better to play than Liquid Strike in most situations. While on the topic of Liquid Strike, I'll go ahead and go over Thunder Sword, a 2-cost Chaos action that gives plus 2 FrostStrike, a pretty much weaker version of Liquid Strike in a different faction that I would give the same treatment regarding its playability. Moving on, we have a card that is pretty much just half of Hydroblast, which is Whirlpool. It costs 3 energy and gives plus 3 damage rating to a Bakugan, and also has a flow effect that gives plus 3 FrostStrike if it was not the first card you played this turn. While it's only half as powerful as Hydroblast, it is also only half the energy cost, making the card much more accessible. However, just like with Liquid Strike, there is a card that applies a better primary effect and just as much FrostStrike for the same energy cost that we'll look to later on. Overall, I would say that this is mediocre at best and there are better options. Next up is a Chaos action card, Bodyguard. This card costs 2 energy and says that it gives plus 1 FrostStrike and then plus 1 damage rating for each point of FrostStrike that Bakugan has. Most of the time, your Bakugan will have 0 FrostStrike, meaning that this is only a plus 1 to both stats for 2 energy, unless it is combined with other cards or Bakugan that have already given you FrostStrike. While it is an interesting effect, it requires too much focus into a FrostStrike-centric archetype, which would already be pretty weak to build upon to begin with. If the effect was the other way around and gave plus 1 damage rating and FrostStrike for each point of damage rating, then it would be a very powerful card. Otherwise, it's something to keep in the binder until a better FrostStrike-focused deck becomes available. Another Chaos card is one that incentivizes a seemingly weak archetype, Reflection Rays. It only costs 1 energy and gives plus 1 point of FrostStrike for each Chaos Bakugan on your team. Mono Chaos isn't really a deck that has much going for it right now outside of cards like this, Light Break, and Luminous Armor. This is potentially the strongest available FrostStrike card, offering 3 points for only 1 energy, but can only be fully utilized in an underdeveloped deck archetype. Moving on to Bakugan Resurgence's action cards, we'll start off with Aquos' Mud Pit. This costs 4 energy and gives you plus 4 damage rating, as well as a flow effect offering 4 points of FrostStrike if it was not the first card playing during your turn. This is in the same area as Hydroblast and Whirlpool, offering an equal amount of damage rating and FrostStrike to the energy cost. Having 4 FrostStrike is a tad overkill, and overall this puts the card in a bad position where it's not worth playing along with the other 2 previously mentioned cards. Next up is the card that I've been leading into for a bit while discussing Liquid Strike and Whirlpool. Unstoppable is another Aquos action card that costs 3 energy. It provides a healthy 600 B, as well as offering 3 FrostStrike if that Bakugan is holding a Fist BakuCore. This card I would say is one of the best when it comes to actions providing FrostStrike, as it is also on curve for source of B power as well. Fist BakuCores are seemingly the most common among character cards and are present in the lineup of almost every deck being played. With the combination of cards like Mega Punch that can attach BakuCores from the Hide Matrix to your Bakugan, the secondary FrostStrike effect can be easily activated in most scenarios. I could safely see this as a 2-of in most decks with a mid-range playstyle that are packing Aquos into their team. Next is a card that is seemingly worse than the previously mentioned Reflection Rays. Here we have Karmic Balance, a 3 energy Chaos card that provides +3 FrostStrike to a Chaos Bakugan. Now, while this doesn't require a full Chaos team like Reflection Rays does, this is still clearly worse, as it can only be given to a Chaos Bakugan and is outclassed by other similar cards such as the Faction Universal Liquid Strike and the B-boosting Unstoppable. All in all, not a card I would consider for deck building. Our last action card that can add FrostStrike to your Bakugan is a very unique Chaos card. Pegatrix Drill costs 4 energy and allows you to draw 2 cards. In addition, there is a Domination effect that gives +5 damage rating and +2 FrostStrike. These effects are very strong, and I would say they are well worth the energy cost. However, like several other cards in the game currently, they cost energy that I should be using instead to win the battle with. By turn 4, both you and your opponent should not be in a position where you are relying on your character cards to win the battle. If you're ahead, your opponent will play a card to get ahead, and you'll need to spend energy to get back ahead, leaving you likely unable to play this card. This could be a potential combo play for a card like Hurricane Winds or Song of Fire, but outside of something like that, I don't see too much potential in Pegatrix Drill. There are only a couple of hero cards currently in the game that can give FrostStrike to your Bakugan, and both of them are from Battle Brawlers. First up is the Aqua's hero Maggie. They cost 5 energy to put into play and say that your Aqua's Bakugan have +2 FrostStrike. In almost every deck using Aqua's Bakugan, you'll only have one of them on your team, making Maggie a permanent +2 FrostStrike to just one of your Bakugan. Even in a deck like Mono Aquas, this card bears a very hefty energy cost, and I would rather spend the energy on a card like Unstoppable on the turn that I need it instead of playing a redundant permanent boost that I might not know the opponent is playing flip cards anyway. Not a card I would consider playing in any deck. Our second and last FrostStrike related hero is D. D is a Chaos hero that costs 4 energy and has a more universal effect than Maggie, giving all of your Bakugan 1 point of FrostStrike. This effect is a nice bonus to have, given that your opponent will usually tap out when trying to win the battle and could no longer afford to pay the 1 additional energy to use for their free flips, but having her cost 4 energy to get her out initially is a steep wall that somewhat ruins the potential of her effect. Superfill can bring her cost down, allowing the card to be played with only 2 energy, but decks playing Superfill have much stronger options to get into play at the time, such as Mac and various Evos. Lastly, there is one BakuCore currently released that can grant FrostStrike. Core 52 is a Helix core that has +1 FrostStrike to the Bakugan holding it. Until we get stronger additions to a Helix core focused deck, or a way to easily attach Helix BakuCores to your Bakugan in a style similar to Mega Punch, I would not consider playing this Helix core in place of other cores such as the +500 -1 Helix and the +300 +3 Helix. So to wrap up, the situation with action and hero cards are much like the character cards in Evos. There are a few strong effects with the rest of them still being unanimously unplayable. To rank them again, as I did with the CCs and Evos, I would definitely have Unstoppable sitting on top, with the rest of the cards lightly scattered below, leaving most of them in the unplayable tier. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I'm glad to finally get part 2 of this video out, and I hope you guys want to see more content like this in the future, because these are the types of videos I really want Bakumentary to be known for. As always, if you liked the video, please subscribe to me on YouTube, and follow me on Twitter for more insightful Bakugan content.